Hello and welcome to another update for my Mets Realm theme team for Out of the Park Baseball 25 Perfect Team. This is the year 2042, and if you saw my previous season, we won the championship, and so we are now in the Bronze League, and back in the Bronze League, I should say, because I was back in the Bronze League many years ago in this saga. So yeah, so you can see that I was in the Bronze League like maybe like 2029, I think, something around that. And I was having a free fall when I was last in the Bronze League. But now I'm back in there and I've got a much better team. And so let's see if we can continue our championship success. If you're new to the channel, this is a Mets Realm theme team, meaning I only use cards with the Mets team on it. And what I do is I hide the scores and I tell you my stats, and then you can guess how well I did at the end of the season. And then we move on to next week when next week comes. So let's get right to it. I'm not going to go through every game log of every player, but I will maybe go through some of them. So let's get to it. So here's my pitching staff. Christian Scott, he was the ERA leader and top wins in last season, and he had another pretty good season this season. 16 wins, 10 losses, 2.83 ERA, and he wasn't quite as good in the beginning of the season, but he ended up stabilizing and finished as the top ERA, got 2.83, which is a little surprising that 2.83 would be the top ERA, but that's what he did. So I'm very happy with Christian Scott. Noah Syndergaard, interesting. 9-14, but he did have a 3.68 ERA, and he also started off pretty rough, but then kind of got better as the season went along and finished with a 3.68. And I was expecting him to be a little bit better, but I always felt that he was probably performing a little bit more better than maybe he should be at this point in time. So I was sort of expecting a drop off from previous seasons, but he actually turned out to be a pretty decent pitcher in the end. Bobby Ojeda, my new combinator card, Bobby Ojeda, 3.45 ERA, 12 wins, 9 losses. I started off him with, I think he was 1 star to start, and then he was 2 stars as the season went on at some point. But a 3.45 ERA is not a bad ERA, and I hope that eventually he will be putting up better numbers than that, but I'm okay with 3.45 given what league I am and where this card is at the moment and its upgrades. So 3.45, can't complain all that much. Jacob deGrom is probably the card that's been underperforming the most, that I'm a little disappointed in. He's got a 4.87 ERA, 7 wins, 8 losses. Very inconsistent card. Very streaky. Let me go into his log. So let's go here, and you might have to go full screen to see the stats. But this is probably a perfect indicator of what I mean. First game of the season, 1 earned run. Second game, knocked out 6 earned runs and 1.2 innings. Then 1 earned run, and 6 earned runs, and 4, 4, 3. Then 1, 2, 3, 2. Then 5, 6, and 1. And then he basically went to August 12th with a 4.86 ERA. Then he put up 7 earned runs and 5 earned runs. So not particularly amazing by any means. So kind of disappointed in deGrom. that he hasn't really put together a really solid ERA season that makes me happy to have his card. And I might want to eventually get the Combinator version of this card because this version needs to be better. This DeGrom needs to be better. Yeah, so DeGrom, hopefully he does better next time. Frank Viola, another pitcher he posted a 4.13 ERA, 14 wins, 11 losses, and he actually is probably a little bit better than the card indicates. Let's go take a quick look at Mr. Viola. So he started off slow, giving up 5 earned runs and 3, then 6, but then he posted 1, 1, 0, 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 earned runs through June 24th. And that put him at a 3.15 ERA, which is not too bad. And then he gave up 4 earned runs and 5 earned runs, then 1 earned run, then 5 earned runs, which made his ERA go up to 3.70. And then he gave up a 0, and then put up a 0, then 5, then 2, then 5. That made his ERA keep going up. Then 3, then 5, 6, 4. And that put his ERA at 4.3. And so, other than this August patch where his ERA blew up, he was pretty decent throughout the season. And so, yeah, can't complain a ton about Viola. I mean, his card is really outperforming what I thought it like. This is what his card is. This is like the mission card for Viola, and look at the card. It's fairly ordinary. There's nothing special about the card, but he's doing pretty good. Can't complain. A lot better than I would have thought he would be. All right. And let's go to our pen. Our pen was kind of interesting this time around. I had to swap people in and out. And so let's go to McGraw, was the closer. 2.45 ERA, 31 saves. He finished with a decent line, but he was a bit rocky, and he had a cold spell in the middle of the season, so kind of disappointed. He was good, but not quite as good because he blew some games for me down the stretch. And Billy Wagner, 3.15 ERA. He was sort of hovering between the setup and the high middle relief for most of the season because he was somewhat inconsistent, but he was much better this season than last season. Danny Frisella, 3.28 ERA. I ended up bringing him up in replacement of Ottavino. I think it was Ottavino that I dumped because his card seemed like finally met its match in value and just didn't do that well. So Frisella came up and he started off pretty good, but then his ERA jumped up a little bit near the end. And then Orozco, he started off rough, but he sort of found his way into a 3.15 ERA, and he was in the setup position earlier in the season. So, yeah. And then Edwin Diaz, he was somewhat okay. 3.45, but he was sort of hovering at times above 4. And so I couldn't really put him in that setup position that I might have preferred. But so yeah, and I would say the most disappointing was Roger McDowell, who came up, who I brought up in the middle of the season and just wasn't really that great. I think I brought him up in the middle of the season. It was this season that I brought him up. No, maybe it was last season. Anyway, he was up here and a 5.09 ERA, definitely not as good as I would have expected. I think he started off good. I'm going to go check his stats. So he started off, yeah, he was on the team from the start, and then he kind of fell apart at the end of May. Yeah, at the end of May, he had a 2.84 ERA. Then he went up to 3.66, then 4.58. And then he could never really turn into a lockdown bullpen guy for most of the rest of the season. So even though he put up a lot of zeros here, he kind of lost my faith in him in the middle of the season. So I had to drop him down and put him at avoid high leverage. So hopefully he figures it out next season. And then Craig Swan had a pretty good season as the long reliever, 2.95 ERA. And Bartolo Colon was an avoid high leverage long reliever with a 6.35. So, yeah, let's go to our hitting now. So this is my lineup. I actually ended up changing my lineups like in the middle of the season at some point because the averages were not great. Actually, my hitting was not great this season overall, and probably well, I'll get into the results later, but my hitting was definitely sort of took a big dive at some point. And so I'm hoping that this is not I'm hoping that this is not a bad omen for the future, that this was just a bad season. Because if this isn't working, then my team is going to be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, so I put Lindor as my leadoff because he was doing much better near the end of the season, and Cedeno kind of fell off as a leadoff. His average, Cedeno's average, let me put the stats up here. So you can see all the stats here. Cedeno's average was 232. So let me go and go from average down. So Bobby Bonilla was actually one of my best hitters, 27 homers, 100 RBIs, 295 average. So I ended up putting him in a higher position on the order versus lefties, and turned out to be pretty good. Then let's see. Piazza only batted 254, but he had 25 homers, 83 RBIs, and I expected him to be better in average, but okay in home runs. Pete Alonso, 10 homers, 27 RBIs, and batted 240, but he wasn't an everyday pitcher. Everyday hitter, I mean. Who else? Edgardo Alfonso dropped off big time here. 240, 9 homers, 55 RBIs. Kind of hoping that he has a bounce back season next season, because that'd be disappointing if his card just took a big dive. And Strawberry also sort of tanked in his numbers, only 22 homers and then 64 RBIs and 235 average. Cedeno, 232. He did have 32 stolen bases, so it's not bad. Let's see who else. Lindor, 227, 8 homers, 43 RBIs. That's about what he's been doing. Lindor is there just for the defense. Beltran, 15 homers, 58 RBIs. Much lower than I need, and he did have 57 stolen bases. Howard Johnson, 15 homers, 63 RBIs, and 206 average. And Duffy Dyer, 175. Don't expect much from him, so pretty much not a good season for the hitting. But my pitching was actually not horrible, so now that you have seen, all right, now that you have seen, so that was weird. My game crashed. Anyway, let's get right to it. So now that you have seen my stats, what do you think my stats were? What my record was? I'll reveal it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I finished 85 and 78, and I actually just squeaked into the playoffs at the end, and I lost in the wild card round. It was so close that I will show you exactly how close. You might want to go full screen to see this. I finished 1.5 out of the division, and it was so close that I was like 2 back ending the season from the division with like 2 games left, and then I lost my last game, which put me in a tie for the wild card, the last wild card, and I had a 1-game playoff, and so I won the 1-game playoff, and then I made it into that last wild card position right here. So that's why I've got 1 more game than most of these other teams. So 85 and 78. I had a really tough division. So my team, the division winner, and another team all made the playoffs, and I ended up losing to my division winner. Playoffs do matter for home teams, so divisions matter for home field advantage. So I think it's one of the reasons why winning the division is kind of important here. And what else? I lost both games because my pitching gave up runs. Ojeda gave up a lot of runs, and Syndergaard gave up runs. I had to use Christian Scott in the 1-game playoff, so he wasn't available for the wild card series, and I actually ended up moving DeGrom into my pen because he was much more inconsistent than Viola. And then let's see, we remain in the Bronze League, so hopefully we can continue to keep pace and stay competitive. We had a tough division this time, so who knows what happens next season. Gotta hope that our hitters do better next season. And yeah, that's pretty much it with the with this season, with 2042 coming off of that championship season. I thought I would maybe have a tougher time in the Bronze League, but I actually was much more competitive than I had expected it to be, so I was very pleasantly surprised by that. And so yeah, pretty much that's it. for the update for 2042. If if you like my content and you want to continue following my team, I appreciate it. You can support me the best by subscribing. You can also comment and ask me questions if you have any questions about my team. As you see, I've got a lot of packs. I'm not going to open them until more Mets cards are released. So, yeah, just going to wait for that. And if you also like indie games, I do a lot of demo reviews on this channel. And so expect that on my YouTube channel as well. So, in any case, that's all I got for today with my Mets Realm theme team. Hopefully, we can push forward to another championship soon. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.